Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, everybody! Welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and welcome to the start of 2026. Now, I know it's been quite a while since we had our last episode, since we did take a bit of a holiday break. So, with that said, I would like to know, how are you all doing, by the way? And by the way, just a quick side note, thank you, Jay Monty, for being the first new fish of the year, as well as Edward Bova. Thank you too so much. Nice way to go and start off this episode. And hopefully things have been going well on your end. Hopefully you all had a nice holiday season with whatever you celebrate, whether it be Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever, as well as New Year's on top of that. So it definitely has been a time where hopefully you're able to go and unwind, to go and relax, because let me just say, I do understand that 2025 has been a bit of a nightmare of a year, rather it be personally for some of you or even just with what's been happening around the world. It's just been absolutely chaotic for all the wrong reasons. And I do understand that with the start of 2026, it's not going well. Already the start has been pretty bad with Twitter constantly being used as a tool to go and create CSAM, or especially with Trump initiating a war illegally against Venezuela. So there's been a lot of that crap going on. But still, though, we are still at the start of the year, and hopefully things will go and pick up from there. But with that said, we're not here to talk about the news in general. We are here to focus on the animation news. And let me tell you, this week, it will be our final goodbye to 2025, or at least the way that I'm setting things up for myself. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much, Tommy Zami, for being a new fish also. But also, yes, considering that not only do we have this going on, but later in the week, I will be having my long-awaited top 5 best and worst animated films of 2025 that will be coming out on my main channel and also on my Patreon a few days earlier. But with what we are going to be doing here, we are going to be checking out... Holy crap, there's been more new fishes than I thought. Thank you very much, Crimson Mayhem, for also being a new fish. But yes, what we are going to do is that we are going to be looking into the top 5 animation news of 2025. We will be looking into which ones have laid the biggest impact, which ones have made the biggest name of themselves, and also how it's going to affect the industry for years to come. So there will be some surprises, and there will be some that, safe to say, are still fresh in our memory. So, without further ado, now it is time I would like to go and ask the chat wall, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Who is prepared for today's big round? Who's ready for the grand finale of 2025? All right, let's see now. Yes, I see people are prepared, people are ready, people are set. That is wonderful to hear. And so, with that said, I know it's been a while since I said this, but now it is time that we shall go and get things started. Oh, and by the way, quick side note, you probably may have noticed, but I am wearing my own merch right now. Got myself an AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast t-shirt, in which you could go and find in the new AniMat's gift shop at AniMat's gift shop fourthwall.com. I'm sure there's going to be a link in the description if you are watching this on YouTube. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. Yes, let's go and get things started on this list. And starting off at number 5, what we got here is actually going to be something that didn't necessarily impact the animation industry, but it was certainly something that really rocked the animation community. And you guys know me, I've been doing this for a long time, but even I have never seen this level of drama within this community. So, to go and start things off, let's go and get into our number 5, in which I like to call What Ruined ILoveKimPossibleALot. So, to go and quickly summarize the entire situation, back in May, there was one video that got plenty of attention, but possibly for all the wrong reasons. It was made by a YouTuber named ILoveKimPossibleALot, whom I have been acquainted before. In fact, I'll be transparent that there was a time that I did bring her over as a guest on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and I actually collaborated with her one time. Not to mention have talked with her behind the scenes. Just not a lot, but just like a few instances. You know, that's why I wouldn't necessarily consider her a friend, but rather just an acquaintance that I once collaborated with. But anyways, ILoveKimPossibleALot back in May decided to go and release a video that she had been working for quite a long time, like over half a year that she spent crafting this entire video. And it was this call out video where she wanted to go and take down a few individuals that she was completely against. And the biggest ones are DA Games and possibly the biggest cartoon reviewer on the internet, Saberspark. The only problem though, that video turned out to be absolute garbage. In fact, many even would go as far and say that it was the worst takedown video ever uploaded onto YouTube. And honestly, even I have to go and agree because, yeah, the video just plain sucked because it is filled with nothing but just petty grudges for just small, inconvenient reasons why she would go and really hate these individuals. But there are also moments where she would go and highlight some serious allegations against DA Games and Saberspark, but they would often be brushed on the side, especially when she would be filling the entire video with nothing but stupid, just stupid jokes in general. Just like basically unfunny crap that really is of poor taste and just unmerited when she wanted to go and make something that is meant to go and, again, call out those individuals. But the biggest real takeaway that was taken from that video is that even though it was like over an hour long or like feature length or something like that, there was a little instance near the end where she mentioned that allegedly Saberspark sexually assaulted someone over a decade ago. And that was one that really raised the alarms and had some concerns that many people have wondered, did Saberspark actually go and do this? Well, from there, of course, it won't be up to ILoveKimPossibleALot to go and do so because she really botched up the job so badly. But this is when we went to have some YouTubers who suddenly became some independent investigators, people such as the mysterious Mr. Enter and KPop, for example. And I'm not talking down on those people because honestly, they have actually done a very good job doing their best to try to find the solution about that serious allegation. Did Saberspark actually sexually assault that person? In fact, they actually talked with the individual whom her identity was actually revealed to be Emily Jones, whom online she is known as Emu Emmy. And for a good few weeks, it was actually considered to be a mystery if it actually is the case, if Saberspark actually did it, or maybe he didn't, who knows? But it wasn't until there was another video that finally answered the big question, and it was specifically from KPop, and it's this one right here called SaberSpark Has Receipts. And on this one, this is where the hard work that SaberSpark himself put in, where it finally paid off, and he finally revealed his side of the story, like fully exposing and discussing about what happened during his relationship with the accuser, which is Emily Jones. And it actually painted a completely different picture where it's actually Saber who was a bit of the victim here, at least from what he was saying on his side of the story and from the evidence that he has provided from past text messages. Because the thing is, yes, Saber did have sex with Emily Jones, but it was all consensual. In fact, they were actually friends with benefits at that time. They had a little bit of a fling when they were seeing each other in conventions and stuff like that. But then there was one instance where during that time, Emily decided to pull a baby scare. Now, I don't know if it was actually on purpose so that she could keep SaberSpark with him, or if she actually did believe that she might have been pregnant and just too scared to actually go and take a pregnancy test, who knows. But still, though, she did lay that onto SaberSpark and put it and that caused him to have some serious drama, not drama, but trauma put onto him for a good while there, until she actually did take the test and it was proven to be negative. So it actually did reveal that not only was the call out from ILoveKimPossible that initiated all that was unwarranted, but it actually proved to be false. And to go and give a little bit of my piece, I know that this was something that I have been chronicling. Oh, another new fish. What a surprise. Thank you so much, Omid, for being our next new fish here. But back to what I was talking about here. The thing is, I remember throughout the year, I've talked about the entire SaberSpark situation again and again. Whenever there was an update, I was sure to go and discuss about it, put in my piece. And I'll even say there was even a part of me that wanted to go and actually help out with trying to solve this big mystery, even even asking to go and lend out a hand to Mr. Enter if he needed any additional help. He didn't get back to me on that, but I mean, hey, the situation is all done. But like I said at the start, you guys know that I have been doing this for so many years. In fact, it's almost at the point where almost half of my life has been dedicated to making videos on YouTube and having an online presence. But the thing is, with this one in particular, this has got to be the biggest controversy in the cartoon community's history. And there have been a few big ones from time to time. Probably the next big one after this was probably the whole Cosmodor situation. But the thing with Cosmodor is that thing was resolved very quickly. He confessed to his sins, that he dated a minor and was abusive towards them. We were all shocked and we all unanimously acted accordingly, where we agreed, yeah, the dude is canceled, and he was gone. That was it. It lasted, the shock factor and the whole thing that happened with that, it only lasted for a few days and that's it. But with this, on the other hand, this was a situation that lasted for weeks because of the mystery aspect, because the answers were not immediate. It didn't come out straight to us. And not to mention the gravitas of the situation as well, because usually with the cartoon community, whenever there is a controversy going on, it's usually small potatoes. In fact, the cartoon community is debatably the best when it comes to making a mountain out of a molehill, because usually when you hear an actual controversy going on that is within the cartoon community, it's generally because someone said an opinion that's generally different than what the majority would have to say. They are very sensitive when it comes to hot takes, and that's usually what they would go and rile themselves up for. Very rarely would we even have something that would be as serious. And oh wow, another new fish already. Thank you so much, Meta Ralph. But yeah, as I was saying, it's very rare when we would have like an actual serious thing going on within people in the cartoon community. But this is indeed one of them. Like someone accused of sexual assault, like that's a bit insane right there. But thankfully, with this entire situation, I would say it is bittersweet because in the end, it actually turns out that nobody did get sexually assaulted, which is nice. And in the case of Saberspark, he went on to have like a much better life afterwards. I can understand that the whole situation was massively stress-inducing, but at least he was finally able to go and actually prove his innocence, to go and prove the evidence that he didn't do it. And now he can move on with his life, doing what he regularly does. And not to mention that he is now engaged. So congratulations to him. And I mean, yeah, sure. Like maybe his reputation didn't get like a significant boost from there. It's not like now everybody loves Saberspark again, because there will be those complaints that people will have, like the extremely clickbaity titles and thumbnails that he would go and do that would often over-sexualize characters, or even, again, some of the hot takes that he would go and put out, because I remember people were really enraged when he put out his review of the season 2 of Hazbin Hotel, and apparently a lot of people got mad that he didn't like it. But still, though, like those aspects, those are like, you know, part of the course when it comes to being a reviewer on the internet, where yes, people will get mad for you doing very clickbaity stuff or for having a hot take. But still, though, at least like right now with Saber, he's in a much better position than he was during that controversy. But then again, there are also some dark consequences that did come with this entire situation. And the bad thing that did come out of it is the fact that ILoveKimPossibleALot really messed up when it comes to helping out victims of sexual... Oh, excuse me. Hold on a sec. Okay. Just need to make sure that my throat is in accord with all this. But as I was saying, yeah, the biggest problem is that KP really messed up when it comes to helping out with sexual assault victims, because it's usually stuff like this in which incels and aspiring predators, they would go and take for themselves and try to weaponize that against anyone else who would go and open up about these kinds of situations. Whenever someone would want to go and speak up and say that, oh, this person sexually assaulted me, there will be those people who will go and say, women are liars, you should never believe them. It's like what happened with Saberspark, don't believe them, they're just lying to take advantage of men, and like all that kind of crap. And I'm not saying that this never happens, but this is one of the very rare occasions in which the accuser is actually in the wrong. Keep in mind that the grand majority of the time, when someone does call someone out of sexual harassment or sexual assault or stuff like that, it's usually true. But this is one of those instances where, unfortunately, it's not. And the thing with KP, you could tell that in her mind, she's not doing it to actually go and help out others. She just has a very deep and very serious grudge problem. Like, she's got anger issues to the core that she has yet to fully resolve. And she's the kind of individual in which she is able to go and latch onto a grudge for years. And that really is the case with KP, where, she used to be acquaintances with Saber, and then suddenly, she one bad move, and now suddenly she consider herself an enemy of Saberspark and wants to do anything to take her down. And this is not to mention that there are other individuals as well who were pretty much canceled by this entire situation. Like Emily Jones, for example, now just known as a complete pathological liar. And then there's also an individual by the name of Bonk from the account Brony Fan Don't, which is dedicated to go and call out bad actors in the Brony community. But the thing with Bonk is that, just like with KP, this is an individual with a serious grudge problem. To this day, actually, they would try to go around and try to say, like, Saberspark is evil, he must be canceled, he's as bad as Black Griffin, and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that, to give KP credit, at least now she knows when to shut up. I mean, she did that one bad non-apology video, but at least after that, like, we never get to hear from her again, and hopefully she is getting the help she needs in order to sort out her anger management and actually find a new life for herself, because she cannot go back on the internet. With Bonk, on the other hand, the dude is still going, and oh boy, yeah, you could tell that the guy is just a lost cause. But yes, I wanted to go and include this here because, again, even though this doesn't necessarily affect the animation industry, this is something that certainly did affect the animation community. And I know that many creators, even myself, were actually fearful during that time, because if there was that likelihood that Saber did do it and he ends up being canceled, it would gravely cause some consequences amongst us YouTubers. But thankfully, that did not happen. But still, though, I just thought it would be worth mentioning possibly the biggest controversy that the cartoon community has ever had. So now, with that said, I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I would go and like to know your thoughts on the matter. What do you think about what happened with the entire Saberspark controversy? How do you feel about the aftermath of all this and how everything was handled? How do you feel about people like with how KP handled it, or how Saber handled it, or even some of the other people like with Cope and Seethe and Mr. Enter, how they handled this? All right, so let's see now. Okay, I think it's safe to say that KP ruined her reputation. I'm honestly very happy that Saber did manage to prove his innocence, but this honestly really did prove how KP had such a petty grudge against Saber to the point where she wanted to take him down at all costs. And I definitely greatly appreciate people like Mr. Enter for helping to look into this. How I will say this doesn't change some people with Saber, like making some clickbait videos, or especially him still defending Black Griffin. Yeah, I will say, in the case of Black Griffin, I know that for now, a lot of the things against him are just allegations, but I am hoping one day that someone actually can come in and actually answer some questions, because I feel like that's another thing that's been going a little bit bad, because like theoretically, technically, it's still not confirmed if Black Griffin actually did do all those things. I mean, yes, there are some confirmed things that are like borderline creepy, but some of the more serious cases, however, we still don't know. And I hope like we can go and answer those questions soon. Not defending Black Griffin, I'm just saying I want to have some answers before I could go and fully place my judgment about what's been said about him. All right, so let's see. What else do we have here? Even the trolls fanboys are part of the toxic cartoon community. Like, okay, so this is, okay, that's just a little bit of a side thing. Anyways, in the tune of Takedown, I don't think she's ready for the takedown, breaking Saber into pieces in a world of pain, because she is so lame. Seriously, KP, Courtney Pete, another key player in ILoveKimPossibleALot's video, and Emu Emmy are all awful. KP just doesn't want to admit that Saber didn't do anything. Like she knows that Emmy lied, but she wants Saber to be bad somehow. Every response she's made is very much like ChatGPT prompts she put in. She's not that smart. Yeah, and you know what's wild is that even the apology video that she made, a lot of people have found that she may have used ChatGPT in order to go and write down her script. So that just makes her look additionally bad that, one, she uses AI, and two, that she would go and, that she would not write herself a sincere apology video. So Yeah, already it's just going so bad for her. And I pretty much cut ties, like I've already mentioned this, but I fully cut ties from KP. Like I believe like she knows that I have been criticizing her through the podcast, but like a lot of people ask me like if I would, but yes, I definitely have. Like all the videos that I have related to her are unlisted, and yeah, like I pretty much blocked her from any of my contacts. So just want to go and highlight that. All right. Anyways, the KP versus Saberspark situation is the proof that false evidence is not a viable evidence, and KP's reputation is about as dead as dinner. Saber may not have been a perfect YouTuber, but KP's stupid grudge and even stupider video was all her own fault. Not to mention Bonk being absolutely crazy. Well, Saber is far from perfect, but KP's whole claim of everything was nothing but a blasphemous rumor. All right, let's see now. Okay, yeah, I'll go with, don't have a lot of time, so I'll just go with two of them right here. I must say, it's one of the wildest moments that happened in the cartoon community. I'm super happy and relieved that Saber is innocent from the cartoon community. Or no, is innocent from the allegations. Sorry, I read that wrong. Moral of the controversy: never enable fake accusations against a person a person you hate. It's very dangerous and can ruin your life. Also, KP and to an extent Bonk has pretty much destroyed themselves because of their horrible management, especially with the latter, since he's mentally unstable and actually got doxxed recently. Ooh boy, yeah, the situation has really become a massive mess. Anyways, I never watched KP's videos before. I did hear about her a little. For example, the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie review with you, Matt, KP, and Logan. I'm happy that Saber has proved his innocence, and now he's engaged, and how KP is, she just wants revenge, and her apology video is not good. I mean, like you said, Matt, let's hope that we give her a second chance if she's like that for the, I hope that we give her a second chance if she's like that for the rest of her life. I don't know about her future. Well, that's the thing. I don't know about a second chance. Like, if she wants to have a second chance, she's free to try, but she needs to earn it. That's the thing. If she wants to come back to the YouTube sphere, if she wants to come back being a cartoon reviewer and stuff like that, she needs to prove that she has learned her lesson and that she should show that what she did during that time, especially with her grudges against people like Saberspark, is absolutely wrong. All right, so with that said, that should do it for our number 5. And when we come back, we will get into our number 4, in which we shall be discussing about a very shocking award season that we had. And nobody would ever go and expect that a little animated film like that would become a major winner. So what does that mean for the rest of the years to come? Well, we'll find out when we talk about number 4. All right, now let's get on to our number 4 over here, in which we are going to talk about last year's award season. Now, I just want to go and say right now that yes, I am aware that there have been some updates in regards to this award season. In fact, as I am recording this today, the Annie Awards has revealed its list of nominations, and I will go and save that for next time on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, so just to let you know right now. But what I will be looking into right here, actually, will be the last award season that we had last year. And may I say that in terms of what's been nominated for Best Animated Feature, or what's generally been nominated during that time, oh boy, it felt like quite a tough competition, considering that we had some very strong animated features that were nominated, including The Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and Memoir of a Snail. But out of all of those, there was one winner that emerged from all that, and a very unexpected winner at that. So now let's get into our number 4 here, in which I like to call the awards go to Flow. Yes, out of all the major animated features that came out last year and managed to go and get a nomination during award season, the big winner of them all turned out to be none other than a little Latvian animated film by the name of Flow. Now, Flow was already doing very well throughout 2024 during the festival circuit. You know, when it would go and show up in places like Animation is Film Festival or at the Annecy International Animation Festival, it managed to get a lot of attention and a lot of amazement from audiences. But when it was time to go and compete, it turned out to be a much stronger competitor than anyone expected, in which it managed to win several awards, including the big one where it managed to win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, by the way, considering that I have here, now I just switched to the Wikipedia page of all the accolades that Flow managed to get. And it managed to win several of them. In fact, in total, Flow has managed to win 41 awards. And on the list here, just to go and highlight some of the big wins that it got, Flow managed to win, of course, the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. You're going to see several that are from Film Critic Awards, like from New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and all those. But on top of that, when it was at Annecy, it managed to win several of them. It got 2 Annie Awards for Best Writing and for Best Independent Animated Feature. Moving right along, it also managed to win the César Award for Best Animated Film. Then after that, it also won Best Animated Film at the Dorian Awards. And then, of course, like the one that really did initiate it and what really what really got people to really pay attention to Flow was actually the Golden Globes, where exactly a year ago, as I'm recording this, it actually won Best Animated Feature. And then continuing on, it also got the International Cinephile Society Award. It managed to win the Lumiere Award, the National Board of Review Award. It also showed up at the Ottawa International Animation Festival, where it won the grand prize. And just several others, like just so many that it just managed to win. And all that for a little animated feature starring a black cat. And this is not to mention some of the positive impacts that it has left. Of course, it gave a lot of great attention to the country of Latvia. And also, it was reported that many black cats ended up getting adopted. Like there was suddenly like a surge of black cats suddenly getting adopted because of the animated film Flow. So there was some good that actually came out from the popularity of that feature film. Now, the thing is, with Flow winning, the reason why it managed to get a spot on this list here is mainly because of the extreme rarity of an independent animated feature like this actually coming out as the winner. Because generally, during award season, yes, we always see independent animated features getting a nomination. And usually, that's enough for them to go and actually get a moment in the spotlight. Because we all knew at the time that, okay, there's no way they would go and win, because generally it would be given to whatever would be the big animated film of that time, whether it be released from Disney or like a major, like impactful one that really got a lot of high praise, like Into the Spider-Verse or Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio or stuff like that. So often it would be given to like the big Hollywood films. But in the case of Flow, however, that's the one that managed to go and exceed all those expectations and pretty much broke this status quo that often came with the Best Animated Feature category. And this is the one where many people are now starting to see award seasons and the best animated feature category a lot more differently. And that is especially the case with what we are seeing with this award season. Like, I believe this year is going to be a true test to see if the impact of Flow is actually going to be carrying forward in the future, or if that one moment was just like a pure coincidence, you know, like the exception to the rule, and then moving forward, that status quo is going to remain intact. I don't know, but we will see. But I feel like now, because of Flow winning, now the award season is going to be completely unpredictable in terms of who's going to be the big animation winner. Now we don't really know who's going to be on top this time. Because yeah, beforehand, I'm sure a lot of people would think that, oh, it's either going to be K-Pop Demon Hunters or Zootopia 2. But nowadays, it's a little bit different, especially when now there is that additional rule from the Oscars in which if you are going to go and actually vote in the best animated feature category, you must watch all of these movies. I know it's kind of shocking that it's only very recently that they added that rule compared to all the previous years, but now that the rule is intact, every single one of these movies could actually be a strong contender. Like now we got films like Arco and Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, that they could actually be as much of a threat to K-Pop Demon Hunters and Zootopia 2 on their chances of possibly winning. So now, by the time the Oscars is going to come, or maybe when the Golden Globes are going to arrive, who knows? It's going to be very unpredictable, because now we have seen that with Flow, it's given a lot more attention to those smaller animated features. It doesn't just have to be from Hollywood to know who would those big winners are necessarily going to be. So honestly, I don't necessarily have that much to go and discuss about Flow's big win, but you see why that it managed to make it here, because not only was the win just so unexpected, in which this little Latvian animated feature managed to beat out the big players. Like, it beat out DreamWorks, it beat out Aardman, it beat out Pixar, and it even beat out Adam Elliott. Like, it managed to beat out like those veteran Oscar winners of the past to go and suddenly get it on its own. Like, it was such a shock. It was such an unprecedented event that it pretty much changed the way that we view how animation would go and compete during the award season. And that is exactly why Flow has managed to get into the number 4 spot. I know it feels a little bit low because we still got a few more that's going to be coming up, but still, it definitely does deserve a mention. And again, we will see if this year we are going to check out if the effect of Flow will actually continue, and maybe we will see if the smaller independent international animated features could actually have a strong chance of actually winning the awards. Who knows? Maybe that little girl in Little Amelie will go and snatch that Oscar from K-Pop Demon Hunters. So it's all going to be a mystery from here, but you can imagine the impact that Flow has made with this. All right, now with that said, now I'd like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you think about Flow's Oscar win? Were you guys just shocked at the time when that occurred? And do you believe that the Flow win is going to carry over onto this award season, where now the category for Best Animated Feature is going to be a lot more unpredictable? I would love to know your thoughts on that. All right. And by the way, just a quick side note, there will be more animated features that I will be discussing about, but I am not going to go and talk about my opinions here. That's just going to be something I will go and save on the top 5 best and worst animated feature of the year. So in that regard, I'm just going to be focusing on the news that these animated films have impacted. So I just want to go and lay that out there. All right. Anyways, While I haven't seen Flow myself, I definitely think this is a big win. Seeing an independent animated film manage the big animated films is such an impressive feat, and it definitely deserves it. And as for what the award season will offer, personally, I honestly think there could be a chance K-Pop Demon Hunters will most likely be the big winner, considering that it already won the Critics' Choice Awards for both Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for Golden. Ah, that is interesting. Yes, it is true that K-Pop Demon Hunters did get that win there, but keep in mind, though, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be an indicator of how this award season is going to be. Because last year, the Critics' Choice Awards gave Best Animated Feature to The Wild Robot. So that should pretty much go and tell you that if Flow would go and manage to come out as the big winner after The Wild Robot won on that, who knows who's going to be the big award winner after K-Pop Demon Hunters win at the Critics' Choice Awards. Maybe Huntrix will keep on winning afterwards, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. So I just want to go and lay that out there. Any other thoughts? Let's see. Seeing Flow win the Oscar for Best Animated Film was really interesting and shocking, but it also changed the game for independent animated films. Congrats to the team on Flow for all the film's achievements throughout the year. All right, very nice. Let's see. I was initially disappointed that The Wild Robot didn't win, but I eventually went and saw a screening of Flow around my birthday, and I was mesmerized by its beauty, and I now fully understand why it became a true game changer. It was certainly much better than most others at the time, having their lives in danger from Jack Black in a blue shirt. Yeah, I think it is safe to say one of the worst movie moments of the year is that whole chicken jockey meme. And I'm not necessarily referring to the scene itself in the Minecraft movie. I mean that whole trend of people freaking out in movie theaters. Like, that was seriously uncalled for. I remember when the movie was released in theaters around that time, I was in Japan, and I have a friend who he works as a manager in a movie theater, and he was often checking on his phone, like making sure the team or his team was okay, to ensure that the whole chicken jockey meme doesn't happen there, because it really was a nightmare scenario for any person working at a movie theater. But that's just a little side tangent about the whole Minecraft movie controversy. We're here to go and talk about Flow. Anyways, let's see. Who knew an animated movie starring a black cat could beat stuff like The Wild Robot and Wallace and Gromit for the Oscar? This shows that now independent animated films can have a chance to win and beat the mainstream animated films. I was shocked of it winning the Oscar and beating everything else back then. Flow winning really could make an impact on who wins at the Oscar for Best Animated Film. Congrats to the team on Flow for winning. All right, nice. Let's see. Any other comments? I still prefer Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Foul to win, but I absolutely respect it and love Flow a lot. I could see more indie animation getting more attention now, just as long as they are good movies overall. I need to get it. I need to get it from the Criterion Collection. The funny thing is that honestly, I feel like I'm just kicking myself for missing that one shot of getting the flash sale on Criterion, because once every 2 years, Criterion would have this major flash sale where everything they have is 50% off. And I was ready to go and buy a bunch of those Blu-rays, including Flow. But unfortunately, I missed my shot when that actual flash sale arrives. But I'm sure the next one is going to be in March or something, or I don't know, maybe earlier or later. But either way, I'm going to be ready for the next one no matter what, and I want to get my hands on Flow. All right, I think I'll read one more comment, and then we're going to go and move on to our next break. So, I'm pleasantly surprised to see Flow winning last year's Oscars. I watched the film myself last year with a friend, and not going to lie, it's really amazing and beautiful. The fact that the little black cat beating out the big studio is quite an achievement. Major congrats to the people who worked on Flow for the massive wins. They definitely prove that indie animation can have a dominant force in the industry. All right, so we're going to go on to our next break here. And after this, we're going to look into our number 3, in which we will be discussing what pretty much became the biggest movie on streaming. So we will be right back, and things are going to get golden when we return. All right, now let's go into our number 3 movie here. And this is a feature that in the very beginning, this was nothing more but an afterthought. Something that Sony Pictures decided to put in a little package, gave it to Netflix and says, here, you do whatever you want with it. And so Netflix agreed. And this movie here, well, they let Sony's animation studio, Sony Pictures Animation, to go and make it, and decided to go and give it a little summer release. Let's just, don't know what's going to happen. Let's just see what even happens in the first place. And funny enough, from there, like, Netflix didn't really, again, Netflix never really cared about it. In fact, even the marketing was like next to nothing. Like, they put out one trailer and just go on with their day. But what they did not know and what they did not expect, in fact, I'd even go as far and say that nobody expected that this movie would go on to be possibly the biggest feature of the summer. And so coming in at number 3, we got K-pop Demon Hunters Mania. Yes, the film from Sony Pictures Animation and Netflix that managed to do the impossible, where through word of mouth, more and more people went and watched it, and even critics were giving bigger and bigger praises, to the point where not only K-pop Demon Hunters turned out to be a hit, but it went on to go and completely break records and has now become Netflix's biggest movie that they have ever released, or that they have released yet. But then again, it's going to be a serious trial now for any other movie to go and compete against K-pop Demon Hunters, because I'll just say, K-pop managed to go and beat out the previous record holder, Red Notice, without any problem whatsoever. In fact, if we go in my source here, which is on Netflix's official website, you could see from the ranking of its top 10 most popular movies, with K-pop Demon Hunters, as I am recording this, it has managed to go and amass a total of 325.1 million views, which is a lot more than what Red Notice has so far, with almost 231 million views. And from there, with that 325.1 million views, it has managed to gather 541.8 million hours watched on the feature. And during that summer, it was like legit week by week. In fact, there are probably some times where it's still happening right now. You will find Rumi, Mira, and Zoe amongst the top 10 most watched films on Netflix. Like, they're still popular. They're still prominent. There are still people, kids especially, which I will get to later, they're still watching K-pop Demon Hunters, still watching the same movie and still listening to the same songs. Oh, but speaking of which, this is not just to go and talk about K-pop Demon Hunters being the biggest movie on Netflix. Let's also go and discuss about the soundtrack. Hold on a sec. Let me just go and refresh that. Yeah, okay, yes, I verified that I'm a person. Okay, there we go. Here it is. Yes, let's also talk about how the soundtrack went on to become the biggest of the year, especially when Golden has managed to become one of the few songs from an animated movie to make it at number 1 on the Billboard Top 100. And it's not just Golden, by the way. Several songs from K-pop Demon Hunters has managed to go into at least the top 10. And there was even an instance where several songs from K-pop Demon Hunters actually was able to get into the top 10 at the same time, while Golden was dominating at number 1. Like there was also songs like Soda Pop, Your Idol, How It's Done, and maybe a few others like Free also, or that ending song in the movie. But still, though, like especially with the other 3 that I mentioned, like with Soda Pop, Your Idol, and How It's Done, like they were just dominating the charts. Like, in fact, right now, I believe like there's several records that have been broken. Yeah, there are several records that have been broken by K-pop Demon Hunters. But when it comes to Huntrix, like they are now being taken seriously as like the record breakers of like of being a fictitious band with so many #1 hits. So they have managed to go and achieve some amazing records right there. And again, this is just through the power of word of mouth. It's not because of any prominent marketing that you see either Netflix or Sony would go and do. No, it just came out naturally where everybody with a Netflix subscription would go and check out a K-pop Demon Hunters at least once. Like, it was a wild summer where seriously, K-pop Demon Hunters was just absolutely everywhere. And it was the #1 movie that people were talking about at the time. And it was a strong summer. Like, we've got plenty of other great movies that did come out during that time, like with Superman or Fantastic Four. Like, we got a bunch of those, like, noteworthy movies that came out. But really, the ones who were dominating the discussions were K-pop Demon Hunters. And again, and the thing is, it's funny because, like, considering that it is an animated film, and I know, like, a lot of people might shame me for saying this, but really a big factor of why it became so successful is because kids nowadays just eat this movie up. Like, I know, like, a lot of people, as I said, like, I know I'll get a lot of shame for it, and, like, this might trigger some people to say, like, animation is a medium, not a kid genre, but no, in this case here, it really is because of the kids that managed to make K-pop Demon Hunters such a massive movie. Like, even nowadays, when I talk to friends, when I talk to relatives, they would be discussing that it's because their kids wanted to go and check out K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, it became this mandatory thing for people to suddenly go and do, to go and entertain them, especially when you would hear the songs. Like, now they're just regularly playing on the radio as much as any of the other songs that would go and do. And this is not to mention that now, with the success of K-pop Demon Hunters, Netflix is just absolutely excited about it, and they are planning a major future with them in order to go and create a major franchise. Now, some people might go and argue that maybe Netflix might go a little bit overboard, and this could ultimately cause K-pop Demon Hunters to have some franchise fatigue in the future. But so far, a lot of what they want to do, they're just concepts, they're just plans. We don't know when they're going to be coming out. It is possible that the majority of it might only be released like in the 2030 decade, but still though, they're really excited for what more they could do with K-pop Demon Hunters and collaborating with Sony on them. So far, the one thing that is confirmed is that we are going to be getting a sequel that will be coming out in 2029. But then afterwards, they also want to do a full-on K-pop Demon Hunters trilogy. Then they also want to do a K-pop Demon Hunters series, a bunch of shorts as well. They even consider the idea of a stage musical and even a live-action remake. But the last one there, that got them a whole bunch of backlash, and they might be backing out on that idea, at least for now. But still, though, considering that it did become a massive success, and it's not that surprising because it feels like with K-pop Demon Hunters, it is like the perfect place for them to be released. Like, honestly, it wouldn't, like, their fame would not be as effective if they were released in theaters, but instead just be released on Netflix, where it's like a lot easier to go and access, especially when Netflix has been getting a lot of major success from Korean movies and shows, or just from Korean media in general, especially with the fame of Squid Game. So suddenly bringing in K-pop Demon Hunters is just a match made in heaven now. And then you also got the soundtrack, which, may I add, considering like all the records that it would go and break, how Golden has now become the biggest, possibly the biggest song of the year, where now it's also competing in award season to go and win Song of the Year. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe it'll manage to beat out some of the big ones, including the songs from Sinners. But again, we're just going to go and wait and see on that. But what's funny about the soundtrack is that I believe that more than anything, more than the movie itself, has really made the biggest impact of them all. Because, the movie is one thing, but it really is the soundtrack that played a significant factor also, that additionally adds so much to the fame of K-pop Demon Hunters. Because what we have witnessed with that is life imitating art. Because in the movie, it's about these like big name pop stars, and then suddenly we got a new rival pop star that came in with the Saja Boys, and then we would see the two fighting against each other with their music. And that's where we ended up with songs, like I said, with stuff like Golden or Takedown or How It's Done. And then you got Your Idol and Soda Pop and so on. And seeing those songs, like, suddenly actually breaking records, suddenly now those are topping the real life charts. Now we see people suddenly becoming so excited about K-pop Demon Hunters and about Huntrix and Saja Boys as much as the people in the movie were excited for them as well. Again, the soundtrack really made it so that we just saw life imitating art. We just saw what happened in the movie was exactly like how we just saw in real life as well. So yeah, there are very few movies that are able to go and make that kind of impact. But when it comes to K-pop Demon Hunters, they truly did dominate that summer, and they have been undeniably one of the biggest movies of the year. And right now, standing as the biggest movie on Netflix. Again, it's going to be very difficult to see if there's going to be any other movie that's going to come forward and maybe even break K-pop Demon Hunters' record. It could happen, but we may not see that for a very long time. So who knows how things are going to go, but when it comes to K-pop Demon Hunters, we know that it dominated the summer, and it dominated a good bunch of the year. So with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to go and ask you all, what do you think about the phenomenon of K-pop Demon Hunters, rather it be with the movie itself and how it did on Netflix, or even how the soundtrack did as well? I would love to know your thoughts on the matter. All right, so let's see now. I think the bigger question here is, what else can I say about K-pop Demon Hunters at this point? It's the most popular movie on Netflix, Golden being #1 in the Billboard charts. It's started to get more accolades now, and I was lucky enough to meet and interview Maggie Kang and Chris Applehots for my channel, in which we mostly talked about music tastes. I'm just glad it's an animated film that is taking over instead of a generic live-action movie on Netflix. I'm ready for the sequel in 2029. All right, let's see. I don't think there has ever been an animated movie that became this much of a phenomenon since Frozen. I have my problems with the movie like you do, but I still think it's great, and I can't be more proud of Maggie Kang and her little passion project becoming this big of a hit as it did. I just hope that Elio eventually gets a cult following and gets recognized on its own merits and not just being compared unfavorably to this film. I'm sure its time will come. I mean, honestly, we just gotta wait a little bit, but it's not hard to imagine that eventually people will rediscover Elio and see it for what it is. So honestly, I'm not too worried for Elio. Like, it definitely has what it takes, and especially when it comes to the people who actually did watch it, they've been giving it nothing but great word of mouth. So honestly, it just requires a little bit of patience. Like, yes, I know with Elio, people didn't give the love for it right now, but over time, maybe people will go and rediscover it on Disney Plus or something and give it the chance that it needs, or that it deserves. But anyways, with that said, let's go and read the next ones here. I really enjoy K-pop Demon Hunters, and honestly, these records are deserved. From the beautiful looking animation and the soundtrack becoming a massive hit, down to the point where the actresses would perform Golden for special events like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and Dick Clark's New Year's Rocking event. It's huge. If anything, Sony were the losers because they shot themselves right in the foot for giving this movie to Netflix. Yeah, that's also been another funny thing to go and mention, is that yeah, Sony really messed up bad, and it really shows that when it comes to managing their animated films, yeah, I don't know, it really does make me question, like, I know it sounds pretty bad, but it makes me question how long does Sony Pictures Animation will last when you see Sony Pictures making these kinds of decisions over the fact that the only thing that Sony was able to go and get is $25 million and maybe a little bit of the residuals from the music, and that's pretty much it. Yes, later on, they did get an extra $15 million as a way for Netflix to say, thank you for making this movie for us. Now, can you please make more? But still, honestly, yeah, I mean, there's no denying that Sony Pictures really shot themselves in the foot, where now Netflix is the ones who owns K-pop Demon Hunters. And theoretically, I mean, it's very unlikely that they would, but they are in the legal grounds that if Netflix wants to move on from Sony, they definitely could. They can go and ask another studio to go and make K-pop Demon Hunters 2, and they'll be glad to do so while reaping in all of the rewards. They don't, like, now Netflix doesn't need Sony for more K-pop Demon Hunters. But, you know, at least now they are collaborating on the future projects, so we'll just see how it goes. And maybe Sony will learn a thing or two about taking their animation studio seriously, because if not, I can imagine in the future that the studio might even end up becoming a scapegoat, and if things go really bad for the Sony Corporation, Sony Animation might be the first thing to go. But that's just a theory. That's just like, you know, thinking a little too far ahead, and besides, that might not even happen in the first place. So let's relax on that, and let's see what other comments that we have over here. Let's see now. The success of K-pop Demon Hunters was really one of the talking points of 2025. From getting tons of praise from critics and audiences, to beating out Red Notice, to being Netflix's most viewed movie of all time, to even having two theatrical weekend releases. It was insane and amazing. I'm merely curious to see what the future holds for Huntrix, and congrats to the team at Sony Animation and Netflix for all the achievements. All right, very nice. Let's see what we got here now. Who knew that a film went from an afterthought to a phenomenon? And now, honestly, after watching it, the hype was real. Of all the big name films, this I almost wrote off last year, and seeing the success of the film, it definitely deserves it. But I do laugh at that basically got nothing and paid the consequences. Oh, I do laugh that Sony basically got nothing and paid the consequences. They had no faith in this film and got basically nothing. Okay, I got you right there. All right, and let's see. I think I'll read one more comment. If anyone else may have one, just to see. Hold on. Let's hope that K-pop Demon Hunters gets a Blu-ray release. If there is enough demand at this point, it could happen, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, honestly, I thought at one point that maybe K-pop Demon Hunters would end up getting a Blu-ray release similarly to what we saw with the Mitchells vs. the Machines and Vivo. But if I may put my opinion on this, honestly, with the success that K-pop Demon Hunters has now, I don't think so. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. Like, I would even dare say that K-pop Demon Hunters has become too big to ever have any form of physical release. And the reason why I say this is because if you would go and buy a Blu-ray or DVD of K-pop Demon Hunters, that gives you one less reason to go and subscribe to Netflix. Because the thing is, and honestly, I kind of forgot to go and mention, no, I did mention this actually, because the thing is that kids are going crazy for it. And sometimes when it comes to having a subscription to a streaming service like Disney Plus or Netflix or Amazon and stuff like that, sometimes it's just for that one small reason. And I can guarantee you that there are many parents out there whom the main reason why they even have a Netflix subscription is because they want to have access to K-pop Demon Hunters. So if you go give them a Blu-ray or a DVD of K-pop Demon Hunters, then at that point, there's not necessarily much of a reason why you would even need a Netflix subscription in the first place. So that's just my personal opinion and why I doubt there would be a K-pop Demon Hunters Blu-ray. Again, I could totally be wrong, and maybe Sony could go and make a major plan with that, but I don't know. I just feel like right now it's just becoming way too big to even have a Blu-ray release. Like, it's becoming too precious for Netflix. All right, so with that said, now that we are done, we are going to go and have another break, and then we're going to go on to our number 2. And with this one, this is the movie that I would dare say managed to beat out K-pop Demon Hunters to truly become the biggest animated movie of the year. But what film could even surpass the biggest movie on Netflix to even have that title in the first place? Well, we're going to go and find out after this. All right, now let's get on to our number 2 on this list. And this is the one movie that I can guarantee you turned out to be far bigger than K-pop Demon Hunters. How is that even possible? Well, let me just go and start off by saying that, interestingly enough, there were a few people that have guessed that maybe that feature would actually be Zootopia 2, since it's actually doing extremely well at the box office, not to mention getting high praise from both critics and audiences. And even right now, it actually has a very good chance of beating out Inside Out 2 to go and become the highest grossing American animated feature of all time. But no, I'm not referring to Zootopia 2, but good guess though. And maybe some people might even debate, like, rather if it's Zootopia 2 or K-pop Demon Hunters would end up becoming more popular. But what I'm referring to, however, is another movie. This one, however, even though it only got extremely popular in one country in particular, it still made quite an impact so big that it even beat out some of the biggest records out there. And so, coming in at number 2, we got the new animation champion, Nausea 2. Yes, back at the end of January of last year, in mainland China, CMC Films they ended up releasing a new animated feature called Nausea 2, which is, of course, the sequel to the highly popular Nausea. But when that film came out, oh my goodness, people went crazy for it, especially in China. It was one that many people were saying that this movie was bigger and better than its predecessor. So much so that it instantaneously became a major phenomenon in mainland China, so much so that in just about a month, maybe even less, it managed to beat out Inside Out 2 to go and become the new highest grossing animated feature in history. But on top of that, it was not done once it managed to go and cross that record, because then it would go and continue amassing more and more money at the box office to the point that it became the first ever animated feature in history to cross over the $2 billion mark. And again, this all happened just within China. And if we go over here, now just checking out the list of the highest grossing animated features in history, you will see that right now, Nausea 2 stands very highly at number 1, far from any of its other competitors, where it currently has $2,244,267,207 at the box office, easily beating out Inside Out 2's $1.7 billion. So by that point, safe to say that Nausea 2 sits very comfortably in the top spot of the highest grossing animated films. But on top of that, there is another record that it managed to beat out. And this is another very significant one, in which now Nausea 2 is also the highest grossing non-English movie of all time. And in this one, the gap between the first and the second is even more massive. In fact, Nausea 2 actually became the first ever non-English movie to get both over $1 billion and $2 billion, considering that the second place one, the Battle of Lake Shangjin, managed to only get $913.5 million at the box office. And by the way, just a very quick side note, on the list of the highest grossing non-English movies ever, there is another animated movie from this year that managed to get up onto this list. And that is none other than Demon Slayer the movie Infinity Castle, which managed to rank up to number 5 at $795.3 million at the box office, which you can correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but I believe that also makes it, so far, the highest grossing Japanese animated movie. Again, maybe I'm wrong on this, but feel free to correct me if that were the case. But still, though, Demon Slayer did amazingly well this year, where it even managed to top the chart. But still, though, the main focus here is on Nausea 2. And that's what made it to number 1 here for both the highest grossing non-English films as well as the highest grossing animated films. But possibly the biggest one of them all, even bigger than the ones that I have already mentioned, the biggest record that it got is that right now, as I am recording this, Nausea 2 is now at number 5 of the top 5 highest grossing films in history. And right now, the only movies that have managed to make more than Nausea 2 include Titanic, Avatar 1 and Avatar 2, and Avengers Endgame. And that's it. So far, this little Chinese animated feature managed to go and make it into the top 5. And wow, honestly, I don't know what is more shocking. The fact that it's a Chinese animated feature that managed to break these records, or how soon it managed to quickly become the new highest grossing animated film in history and beating out Inside Out 2. Because keep in mind, Inside Out 2 didn't have that title for long. Like, yes, everybody was amazed when Inside Out 2 was not only able to go and surpass Frozen 2, but it was even able to go and beat out the 2019 Lion King remake to truly become the highest grossing animated film in history. And at the time, it was hard to imagine if there would be any other movie that would go and immediately surpass it. But then, several months later, Nausea 2 suddenly came in and just went, yeet, just zoomed up to go and immediately become the new highest grossing animated feature in history. And I really do mean that in China, it was an absolute phenomenon, because the thing is, when probably one of the biggest lessons that we've learned from not just Nausea 2, but from a few other movies as well. When there is something from pop culture that China loves, they will go crazy for it. And I really do mean that they will go crazy, because if we go into Box Office Mojo and we go and take a look at the record that Nausea 2 has made with its right now with its over $2.2 billion at the box office, the grand majority of it really is from China. In fact, that 2.2 billion, that came from China alone. And the rest is just a few spots from all around the world, including in the domestic box office, where it managed to get $23.3 million. Now, I am aware that there's a good chance that if you are watching this or if you are listening to this, maybe you haven't seen it. But honestly, I even recall at the start of the year, again, to refer to my friend who is a manager in a movie theater, I remember during that time that he told me that the movie that was really selling out tickets and filling up movie theaters was Nausea 2, especially when being close to Chinese communities. And I even remember, when I went to go and see Nausea 2, it was very, very late. It was way after it managed to break all those records, and it was in few spots that I could go and find it. But I was lucky enough to go and find one downtown. And even at the screening that I went, while it wasn't packed, there were still some people who went to go and see Nausea 2. And they weren't film nerds either. They were just regular people just wanting to watch it. And even a few Chinese people who want to go and re-experience it again. And to go back into the aspect of how Chinese people can really go crazy when they love something in pop culture, we're also seeing that happen today. Because right now, the next big animated craze that's happening in China right now is actually with Zootopia 2. Now, with Zootopia 2, it is currently doing amazingly at the box office. In fact, it has now become one of the very rare movies that actually made over $1 billion just on the international box office alone. But to go and point out how China showed their love to Zootopia 2, let me just go and switch that, because so far, the amount of money that Zootopia 2 made in China, as I'm recording this, is a total of $560.1 million at their box office. And keep in mind, domestically, it has only made $363.6 million. And considering that now Zootopia 2 has a worldwide total of almost $1.6 billion at the box office, China has managed to go and gross around a third for Zootopia 2, where domestically, that barely even covers a quarter of it. So it really shows how much Chinese people can absolutely love animation, how much they absolutely love movies, to the point that they could go and make it a tremendous success that can even be unheard of in the US or in North America alone. It can really be that absolutely crazy. And especially keep in mind, considering that it's all from China, Like, it feels unheard of that you got one movie that managed to gross over $2 billion in that one country alone. Just in one country. Like, honestly, this is something that you'll never even hear that at the domestic box office it could ever occur. Like, I don't think there will ever be a movie out there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there could ever be a movie that can gross over $1 billion just from the US alone. Like, that is insane. Like, it is extremely rare for a movie to even do that. It's very rare for a movie to even get like $500 million. Now, I'm not saying that it never happened. Like, maybe with the biggest ones of them all. Like, maybe with here, if I could just go and maybe check out, like, probably with Avatar. Maybe the first Avatar was able to go. No, not even the first Avatar was able to go and make over $1 billion domestically. Or even maybe Avengers Endgame. I want to see if Avengers Endgame was able to do that. No, not even Avengers Endgame was able to do so. Only $858 million domestically. So my point is that it is unheard of for the US or just the domestic box office alone to surpass over $1 billion. And yet in China, they got one movie that managed to make not just $1 billion, but over $2 billion at the box office. And that alone is absolutely insane. That is a record that even if you go and take K-pop Demon Hunters and you put that you have that, like, have it be fully released in theaters, K-pop Demon Hunters wouldn't even make a fraction of that, even with the kind of phenomenon that it would become. So that's why, honestly, this is why I'm putting Nausea 2 at number 2 right over here, because the records that it managed to break, they are considered to be impossible. Like, if we go back in time, like to the start of 2025, and I would go and tell you about all that with Nausea 2, all of you would look at me as if I'm absolutely insane. I mean, you're already probably looking at me as I'm absolutely insane, but that's besides the point. No, but for real though, with Nausea 2, it's just, the records that it broke is just unbelievable, and it definitely deserves an absolutely high spot on this list among the biggest animation news of the year. All right, so now with that said, I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about the records that Nausea 2 managed to go and break? Now, you don't have to go and watch it to go and comment on like how it like what it did at the box office. I would just like to know your thoughts on the fact that we got a Chinese movie that managed to surpass over $2 billion at the box office and is now at the 5th highest grossing movie in history. I would love to know your thoughts. Okay, so let's see now. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the movie and I didn't know it existed until I heard it broke these records. But I can understand why it broke these records thanks to China alone and how it really became popular, and the fact that it broke the record previously held by Inside Out 2 within several months is an accomplishment. I honestly don't think that there will be a movie that will surpass, not even Zootopia 2, and I don't think Avatar Fire and Ash will surpass it as the highest grossing movie of 2025. No, I don't think so. Like, honestly, in my opinion, Zootopia 2 right now has a very good... Well, it's just like what I said at the beginning. Zootopia 2 has a very good chance of beating Inside Out 2. But beating Nausea 2, it's going to be a very tough call. I cannot think of a single animated feature in the future that would be able to go and surpass it, or even just a movie in general. It's going to be hard to imagine. And even at the rate, at the speed right now, with Avatar Fire and Ash, it's very doubtful. It's going to be hard to imagine if it will even get close to what The Way of Water and the first movie managed to do. So in that regard, I think it is like, will there be a day where someone will make more than Noja 2? Most likely. But I think at this rate right now, I think Noja 2 is pretty comfortable on its spot, and we're going to have to wait for quite some time until we see another movie, let alone an animated feature, manage to go and break that record. Let's see what else we got here. Wow, I cannot believe that we got 3 animated films to make $1 billion at the box office. Zootopia 2, Noja 2, and Demon Slayer, the movie Infinity Castle. I don't think Demon Slayer managed to make over $1 billion, just saying. Like we just saw, it was very successful, but I don't think it managed to cross that mark. Like, keep in mind, though, that, like, think about the currency exchange between the yens and the dollars. So just keep that in mind, if that were the case. Anyways, let's see. The last time that we had 3 animated films to gross over $1 billion at the box office was in 2016 with Zootopia, Finding Dory, and The Secret Life of Pets. All right. Anyways, let's see here. The fact that a little rebel from China managed to outperform Joy and the Emotions in just a few short months is absolutely insane. I haven't seen it myself, and maybe I should, but I need to watch the first film, just so I could be familiar with the characters and the setting. As for Zootopia 2, I'm very happy it's going very well too. That sequel is a phenomenon and a worthy follow-up, although the sequel also caused people to consider buying pet snakes like Gary, basically another Nemo situation. Yeah, that's another subject for another day. But yeah, honestly, it's just if you want to go and see the first Noja, by the way, that's actually available to go and watch on YouTube for free. If you want to go and like set yourself up to see how things are with like Noja and see what the hype of Noja 2 is all about, I highly recommend that you do so. And the first Noja, it's easy. Again, it's on YouTube. It's for free. You could go and check it out. To go and find Noja 2, however, that might require a bit more extra steps, but we will see. All right, any other comments? Let's see now. Honestly, I can't say much about this since I haven't seen the film yet. If I have a top 5, Wallace and Gromit or Zootopia 2 would be my top picks, with the SpongeBob films tied as my favorite. But that is massively impressive that a Chinese film managed to go over that. Not even an American film could reach that yet. I think Zootopia 2 was as close, but still applaud the studio's success. I think one of these days I should give it a watch, of course, if I get used to the humor. Yeah, that's one thing, just to go and give you a little bit of a warning. It's just that when it comes to the comedy of Noja 2, it's very different than what Western cultures are accustomed to. Like, let's just say what Western people find to be disgusting, Chinese people will find a little bit of charm, or they'll think that it's funny. Or at least that's what Noja and Noja 2 presents. So just a little bit of a heads up. Oh, wait, we got an update. Apparently, Noja 2 is on HBO Max. So if you want to go and check out Noja 2, apparently you could go and check it out on HBO Max. Okay, thank you for the heads up, Alan. Definitely is helpful right there. Now I just need to figure out how I could go and watch it. I don't have HBO Max in Canada. Okay, but with that said, though, it doesn't seem like we have much other comments. So I believe we will go and have one more break. And when we do come back, it's going to be the big one. Now that we have counted down all the other big animation news, we will go and return after this to go and find out what is the biggest animation news of 2025. Okay, everyone, it is now time that we finally reach the number 1 spot here. And I do see in the chat wall that many people have suggested a lot of great ideas, a lot of potential news that could have made it on the list, but honestly, you have all suggested some nice honorable mentions. Yes, there was South Park that did come back and made quite a massive political slam against Donald Trump and the GOP. Yes, there have been plenty of lost pilots that have been discovered and a lot of lost media that has been uncovered, but no. It's not really any of that. And not to mention, of course, many of the celebrity passings that did occur. But the number one here, honestly, I think it is pretty easy to guess which one it is, especially with the fact that it happened quite recently. In fact, it was about a month prior to right now, when I'm recording this, actually. So yeah, by that point, I know some people may say that, well, technically, it's not necessarily specifically about animation, but it still counts considering that this is something that will impact the animation industry on top of the entire entertainment industry. I would even go as far and say that this might even count so far as one of the biggest entertainment news of the entire decade. And so, the number one animation news of 2025 is Netflix buys Warner Brothers Discovery. Yes, folks, this is the big one that managed to get to our number one spot. Now, to quickly summarize the entire situation for you all, later during the year, Warner Brothers Discovery managed to shock the world when they revealed that they are ready to go up for sale. Now, it is quite strange considering that Warner Brothers actually had a wonderful year, especially with their movies and how well they performed, not just with critics and audiences, but also at the box office, bringing out some of the other biggest movies of the year. Like, honestly, some that could even compete against the popularity of K-pop Demon Hunters, with films such as the Minecraft movie, with Sinners, Weapons, I believe they're also the ones who distributed the new Final Destination movie, Superman, and a few others as well. It was a beautiful year for Warner Brothers with their features, but alas, they were not enough to go and fully save the company. And that led to the decision where Warner Brothers decided that they still wanted to go up for sale. And from there were some major corporations who were highly interested in wanting to get their hands on Warner Brothers and make a little bit of their own little merger. And the three most prominent ones, or the three biggest contenders who were ready to go and acquire Warner Brothers, were Comcast, Paramount, and Netflix. And each of them offered a major deal to them, but ultimately, at the start of December, Warner Brothers made their decision and they decided that they wanted to be acquired by Netflix. And to give you a little bit of the details about what this deal entails, let me just go and read you from Netflix's official website, in which it says right over here, Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery announced that they have entered into a definitive agreement under which Netflix will acquire Warner Brothers, including its film and television studios, HBO Max, and HBO. The cash and stock transaction is valued at $27.75 per Warner Brothers Discovery share, subject to a collar as detailed below, with a total enterprise value of approximately $82.7 billion, equity value of $72 billion. The transaction is expected to close after the previously announced separation of Warner Brothers Discovery's Global Networks division, Discovery Global, into a new publicly traded company, which is now expected to be completed in the third quarter of 2026. So from there, you would expect that the story is completely done. Now we know that Warner Brothers Discovery's future would be with Netflix. But then suddenly came an unexpected turn in which Paramount didn't want to go down without a fight. And they stepped in to go and immediately do a hostile takeover where instead of that $82.7 billion Netflix offered, they stepped in and said, well, how about if we do 108 billion, or I believe specifically 108.4 billion. So they were really desperate to go and get Warner Brothers into their hands. But right now, it looks like even if they offer a much bigger number, Warner Brothers is not so keen on giving themselves to Paramount Skydance. Hold on a sec. Just needed to go and clear my throat there. But as I was saying, the reason why they don't want to go and take that deal is mainly because of how suspicious the deal that Paramount offered, especially when there are connections with both Donald Trump directly and with Saudi Arabia. To go into my source here on BBC, it actually states right over here that Paramount's offer includes financing from Jared Kushner's investment firm, Affinity Partners, which he set up in 2021. Donald Trump's son-in-law is estimated by Forbes to have a fortune worth of more than $1 billion, and analysts think investors may see his financial backing as a reassuring sign. Kushner and other financiers from the Saudi and Qatari sovereign wealth funds backing the Paramount bid have agreed not to take any controlling roles, such as seats on the board, in exchange for their investments. But experts think the Trump family connections could raise ethical concerns over whether the president's influence could tip the scales. One entertainment lawyer said that even if politics were not part of the picture, regulators would still be asking tough questions. So in that regard, it just feels like a deal that might be a little too suspicious for Warner Brothers to get involved, especially when, like I said, you got the Saudis that were involved with this, so that might stir up some serious ethical questions. You got Jared Kushner, who was directly involved, so that would also raise some questions, especially with the connections to Donald Trump directly. And then there's also the factor with the Ellison family, considering that they also have direct connections to Donald Trump as well. But it's also with the case of the new head of Paramount, David Ellison, considering that he has been reported to be an unbearable prick. Okay, maybe not exactly like that, but it has been reported that his unstable behavior has been considered to be a factor onto why Warner Brothers is not so keen to go and make a deal with Paramount. So in that regards, very soon as I'm recording this, Paramount will announce that they are going to go and reject Paramount's deal and that they are going to go and continue with Netflix. Now, I'm just going to go and start things off by mentioning this little silver lining that probably the best thing to come out of this is the fact that at least it is not in the hands of Paramount. Because the thing is, it was just recently that the acquisition between Paramount and Skydance finally did occur, and that now David Ellison and to an extent the Ellison family are the new bosses of Paramount. And having them suddenly decide that they want to also go and control Warner Brothers raises some very serious concerns in itself. I mean, I've already also mentioned that, yeah, like it is a problem if they would go and also get Jared Kushner and the Saudis involved, but having the Ellisons get involved with this and then suddenly making their own merger, especially with their direct connection to Donald Trump and just trying to do what they can in order to please him, even down to the point of actually approving a Rush Hour 4 just because Donald Trump says so. At that point, it just feels like a recipe for disaster, and it just feels like it's just the Ellisons trying to make their own monopoly in the entertainment industry to turn Paramount and Warner Brothers into Donald Trump's own propaganda machine, as if Fox News and Newsmax is not enough. So at least we kind of averted that disaster. But still, though, that doesn't change that we still got this going on. And this is something that is also raising some very serious concerns, and that you see many union groups that are frightened about this, and that they are expressing a lot of their concerns, their worries, and even their disapproval that this is even happening in the first place. Because this isn't just another major media merger that's going on. This is a lot more different than what we had before, than with the Disney and Fox merger. Because right now, Warner Brothers is about to be owned by Netflix, which is primarily known to be a streaming service. And regardless of what the outcome could be, one thing that we do all know is that the future of entertainment as we know it, not just the future of movies, not just the future of animation, not just the future of TV, not just the future of streaming, but just the future of entertainment is going to be a lot more different now that Netflix has their hands on Warner Brothers. And a lot of people have been raising a lot of concerns in regards to what's going to happen with a bunch of things that Warner Brothers does own. Yes, we do know that there is going to be that aspect in which their TV channels are going to be separate from Netflix. So Netflix is not going to directly own stuff like TNT or Cartoon Network or CNN and stuff like that. But instead, right now, Netflix is actually going to own HBO Max, HBO, and all the film libraries, the TV libraries, and the studios that Warner Brothers has. So what does the future have over there? Well, for now, we don't know. And what Warner Brothers is saying is that for now, we're just going to leave that as a bit of a mystery, considering that they're not going to do anything immediately. They are stating that for now and for the foreseeable future, they're not going to make any changes in regards to Warner Brothers in terms of how they produce their movies and how they produce their shows, and especially in terms of distribution. For now, they are keeping HBO Max and Netflix as separate entities, although people are expecting maybe in the future there could be some kind of merger where they're going to blend both of those things together. Maybe that could happen, but we'll wait and see. And especially, they have stated right now that they will still be releasing Warner Brothers movies in theaters. And those are two other aspects that will remain separate. The movies made for Netflix, they're still going to be released on Netflix. And the movies made for Warner Brothers, they will go and be distributed in theaters. Although the one change that they did say might actually happen is that for now, Netflix is thinking about the possible idea that maybe the window of exclusivity for movies to be in theaters, or specifically for the Warner Brothers movies to be released in theaters, they might just want to do it for 17 days, which is like 2.5 weeks. And that is honestly not a lot. You know, honestly, it just feels weird and concerning that for that short gap that they're just going to leave that in theaters, and then suddenly, like, not even a month, it'll just find its way onto streaming, or it'll find its way so that people could go and watch it at home. Now, will this heavily affect the box office? Will this affect the business of movie theaters? That remains to be seen. And this is not going to be something like, if they are going to go and do that, we're not going to see the consequences of that until much later. Keep in mind that the official deal for Netflix to go and officially acquire Warner Brothers, it's not going to happen until sometime in the third quarter of 2026. So this is not going to be something that may immediately impact something like Supergirl, for example, but it will. But there's a very good chance that maybe we will see the consequences of it with the Cat in the Hat movie, which that one is going to be coming out in November. So that's the big thing, is that for now, we know that we don't know specifically what is going to happen. How is this going to affect streaming? How is this going to affect movie theaters? How is this going to affect jobs within Warner Brothers and Netflix? we honestly don't know what's going to happen with many of these. But what we do know is that there are going to be some major changes where Hollywood and the entirety of the entertainment industry is never going to be the same again. And that is exactly why I put this as the #1 animation news of 2025. No, not to mention that, yes, this also counts as the biggest entertainment news of 2025. So what are the consequences? I guess, well, now that we've entered into 2026, we'll wait and see with what the year has in store for us with what's going to happen with both of these companies, with both Warner Brothers and with Netflix. So with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the Netflix Warner Brothers deal? And how do you feel about this being the #1 animation news of 2025? Let me know what you all think now. All right. So, oh boy. Wow, the chat wall is alive and well. Definitely much more than I saw with the #2 spot. Anyways, I don't know why this merger is even happening. Every merger Warner Brothers has ever been a part of has had catastrophic results. No matter which company wins, they're both going to lose. While Netflix buying Warner Brothers is the preferred outcome, it will still saddle the former with an insurmountable debt load that they'd only be able to pay off by tripling their subscriber costs. If anything, Disney is the one who benefits the most from this merger because it will destroy 2 of its competitors from within. Okay, yeah, I will say, though, I mean, a pretty wild outcome that I will say from that comment, but I mean, this one actually does bring up a point, and not necessarily in regards to saying that Disney wins and all this, but it is true that there is a likelihood that this might not work out well for Netflix, considering that previously in the podcast, I did mention that Warner Brothers is a lot like a freaking cursed idol, because any corporation that would go and own it, they would end up being massively cursed. And we all know about the tragic horror stories that we have seen from companies such as AOL or AT&T, and even recently with Discovery. Whenever they do these kinds of mergers, they don't end up well, and they ultimately end up trying to sell Warner Brothers to get that away from their businesses, because it's just been nothing but awful for them. And there is a likelihood that it could happen with Netflix too. However, when it comes to that outcome, I would say that we're not going to see the true consequences until like a good few years. Like, honestly, as I stated before, we would have to wait until 2030 to see if this merger actually is beneficial for Netflix or if this could actually destroy Netflix. I mean, either way could actually happen, but I'm just saying right now, let's wait until 2030 to see how this will go. And maybe Netflix could actually prove that they're able to go and manage Warner Brothers well and do better with their business. Or this could be the one thing that could actually bring down Netflix. Like, this could be the thing that may start the massive downfall of Netflix. But again, this will only happen in like a few years' time. Like, we just started 2026 and we still got a few more years ahead to see how this deal will go for them. Let's see now. Personally, it's been quite a ride this year, like KPop Demon Hunters and the Warner Brothers Netflix deal you just mentioned. But I will say, for me, this year's biggest animation news was the announcement of Disney Animation's next film, Hexed. I already mentioned that my buds are making this, and that alone is making it my most anticipated film of the year. I do think Disney Animation is in the right hands, all thanks to Jared Bush. I still love what Jennifer Lee has done for the studio, but Jared, and the comment stopped, unfortunately. Hold on. But okay, well, the comment has been rewritten and he says, I still love what Jennifer Lee has done to the studio. And I mean, Jennifer Lee is still doing very well, considering that she is still hard at work working on Frozen 3 and 4. So, all right. So, you know, and honestly, that's another thing that you guys are free to go and write down. Like, if you have a personal #1 animation news of 2026, feel free to do so. Let's see. Any other comments to go and read? All right, let's see. I'm not going to doom and gloom about this deal as of yet, but from the looks of it, I'll remain skeptical on that. On one hand, I'm super happy that Paramount ain't buying it, but on the other hand, I'm concerned of how it'll affect the movies made by Warner Brothers meant for theaters, given that Netflix is kind of anti-theater. As much as I hate Zaslav, even I have to agree with him that the Ellisons are getting on his nerves. Overall, I'll wait and see with how the deal goes. All right. Let's see now. I mean, at least it's not Paramount. To be honest, I'm really dreading this, mainly because of the consequences of what could happen, not to mention Warner Brothers' horrible history with mergers, and it's making me worried about the future of movies being in theaters for a shorter period of time. The only funny thing about this is how many times Zaslav has told Paramount and Ellison no, because they don't understand the meaning of that word. I mean, of course, they're right-wing billionaires. Saying no to them feels like an assault on their feelings. So, honestly, you know when it's bad when you're making David Zaslav look good in this situation. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment, and I think we will go and cap this off here. All right, so personally, I'm not that surprised Warner Brothers declined Paramount's offer, especially with the Ellisons' connections with Trump. As for the deal with Netflix, it's more of a wait-and-see mood, but this is a really big chance for the entertainment community. I feel like 2026 is going to be very interesting with this merger. And you know what? I think that is a perfect note to go and cap off today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Hey, thank you all so much for joining me on this, and I'm glad to see that AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast is back to go and start the madness off in 2026. And yes, tune in next week when we shall return for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast in its original form. Yes, we will be covering the new animation news that's been happening in 2026. And yes, I will be discussing about some award stuff going on, including the Annie Awards and the upcoming Golden Globe Awards. So with that said, I would like to go and say that if you guys would like to go and like to follow more on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and you don't want to miss another episode, then at that point you could go and subscribe to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon channel YouTube, the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel, or the AniMat Live Twitch channel. But at the same time, if you guys are following me on whatever service that you are listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and many, many more, then don't forget to go and follow me on there too. And with that said, everyone, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all the best for 2026. And until next time, see you later, dudes.